easy. I never have. Suddenly, all those very specific promises of what would happen and how quickly they would happen. If we passed this stimulus bill, unemployment would top out at 8% by the end of the summer of 2009 and be at 5% today. He was going to create millions of manufacturing jobs, 5 million green energy jobs. We're going to have your health insurance costs. The average family of four would see their premium drop by $2,500 by the end of 2010. He would cut the deficit in half in his first 4 years. All of these things were very specific and very precise and very quick, if you will, promises, none of which have been delivered. And yet the president today dropped every one of those down the memory hole.
Well, apparently Reince Priebus, the chairman of the Republican National Committee, agrees with you. He tweeted, and I was following my Twitter account tonight, and it was just rolling throughout the speech from all sorts of people. But he says, why would anyone believe these new promises from Barack Obama when he hadn't begun to fulfill the ones from '08? Did it not seem that the president was cognizant of the fact that he had promised things before, and now he was just saying, well, it's going to take more time?
Well, and part of that is, yes, that's true. But also what got me was that the promises got scaled back. For example, tonight he said, I'm going to cut oil imports in half by 2020. 4 years ago he said, we're going to end the import of Middle Eastern oil by in 2018. Tonight he said, I'm going to create 1 million jobs in manufacturing. 4 years ago he said, I'm going to create millions of jobs in manufacturing, 5 million in green energy alone. I'm going to train, he said tonight, 2 million workers through community colleges for new jobs. Well, wait a minute, he's already said that he was going to do that. In fact, Congress approved legislation to begin that process. He said, I'm going to cut the growth of college expenses in half in the next 4 years. And 4 years ago he said, I'm going to cut the cost of education by $4,000 per student. And he hasn't delivered on those. Perhaps the most interesting one was he said, I'm going to cut $4 trillion out of the budget deficit. And you know what? That's just simply not true. He counts as that $1 trillion in spending in deficit reduction that Congress approved last year. And he's counting it again going forward. There's $848 billion in phantom war costs. He assumes that we continue Iraq and Afghanistan indefinitely, and then since we've ended the Iraq war on George W. Bush's schedule, incidentally, and we're ending Afghanistan in 2014, he then counts those phantom savings. He has $800 billion in interest payments that we don't have to make, and he calls that a spending cut. And then finally he makes no account for the $716 billion that he's borrowing from Medicare and has to repay, or the $53 billion he's borrowing from Social Security for Obamacare, for the Affordable Care Act, and which we have to repay. If you really look at his budget, what he's put there in black and white and asked Congress to pass, versus the GOP House budget, President Obama calls for $1 trillion more in spending than is called for in the House Republican budget, and he calls for $300 billion more in taxes. So in essence, he's increasing the deficit by $700 billion above what the Republicans have been suggesting we do, and yet tonight he went out there and said, I'm going to cut this $4 trillion. It just simply wasn't believable.